All right, guys, so what I'm working on today is I am installing a Hughes dump valve on my transmission. So if you guys don't remember, the transmission or the car had a really hard time getting up on the two-step. It would lug the motor, the converter would lug the motor down pretty good because it is a really tight converter with, I'd say the stall speed has got to be like 25 to 2800. In reality, I need a new converter, a looser one, but to be quite honest, you can benefit a lot from a dump valve, and I think, for kind of where I'm at the moment, it'll be all right. So honestly, it's not too hard to put everything on the outer portion on. Basically, what it used to be was you'd have your cooler lines, basically one on the top, one on the bottom, running out, and then what this does is this replaces the top line with a gauge just to check for line pressure, and then they give you a cap to cap it if you want, or you can keep the gauge in or whatever. And then so the bottom will tee out. The line from the cooler will come in on this side. This line goes back to the solenoid, and then the solenoid will go back into the case. The bottom portion, the bottom fitting will go back to the cooler, and the bottom fitting actually has a restrictor in it. So pretty much what happens is it restricts the trans fluid flow into the converter, which then will allow you to have a higher stall speed once the solenoid's on. When the solenoid is deactivated, you get full line pressure like you normally would. So this stuff wasn't too bad. Change that cover, put that plate on, the solenoid, and then just these fittings. But it does require modifications to the front pump. So I took the front pump out of the transmission, and then you have to actually disassemble it. So I've already done all the work. Haven't really, had the time or the drive, I guess, to like film me actually working. But so what I've done here is I had to tap this hole, 5/16, 18, I think. Same thing with this hole. And then there's two restrictor fittings around here somewhere. I think I stuck them off to the side. Yep, right there. So these two fittings, one will actually plug this hole. The other one is a restrictor size for this one. So this one's got like a 1/8 inch hole in it. And then also, this wasn't too bad. Just, tap it. It's not that bad. Clean it out. This was what made me a little nervous. I had to actually grind into the pump to connect these two channels so fluid can flow through here. And then the other thing we had to do was drill a small hole in there. I don't know if you can really see it, but there's a very small hole. It's about 60 thousandths right in there. So all the modifications are done to this. I need to just put these two set screws in with some thread locker, and then I can put the pump back together. I covered up the pump, just, I didn't want to get anything all over it. So we'll go ahead and put that back together, show you the finished product, and then we'll put the front pump back in the transmission. All right, here we are with the finished product. I've got the torque converter on, bell housing on, everything's torqued down. I do have a new dipstick tube coming. For some reason, when I took it off, the dipstick, somebody cut it. It's too short. So, yeah. Outside of that, this thing's ready to go back in. It is a pain to change the transmission by yourself on jack stands. What I have to do is I have to jack the truck up to be able to get the transmission up under the car. And then I got to find a way to get it onto my transmission jack. Once I get it on the jack, it'll be smooth sailing. Well, famous last words, but it should be smooth sailing from there. But, like trying to do a turbo 400 by yourself, not really the easiest of things. Anyway, tomorrow when that new dipstick comes, I'll go ahead and throw that on. Well, I'll just pull this one out, throw the transmission up under. Once we get the trans back up under the truck, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and give an update real quick, and then we'll finish it up and see how it works. right, so the dump valve didn't exactly work. This torque converter it's just way too tight. So I got a higher stall torque converter. Seems like a 4500 stall. I was gonna go with like a PTC or gonna call Hughes and I talked to a few people, and I ended up getting a Hayes converter. It's not here yet, but we'll throw that on. Hopefully that does the trick. Honestly, I think it will. You know, this converter, as tight as it was just lugging the motor down so hard that you know, we just couldn't get it up on a two-step. Outside of that, been wiring up the lights. I've got headlights, tail lights wired up. One tail light is out, so I don't know. I'll have to figure out what that is. It's not, the fronts are just the regular headlights. The back is some LED bulbs. So I've got at least headlights, a tail light, a brake light, which was fairly easy to wire up. All I had to do is basically just come into the switch with power and then put this out to you know, the relay that I have set up, and when I press the brakes it works. And then moving inside the truck, what I'm working on, John's gonna be a little upset, no passenger seat in this truck, but trying to figure out the whole intercooler situation, and I went and got an ice tank. So I've got an ice tank and then a Davies Craig water pump, which is in that box. It's the same water pump as that. So this will be filled with water, ice, you know, it's pretty much just a regular ice tank that everyone runs. I wanted to put it in the bed, because I'm sure some people are gonna be like, why didn't you put it in the bed? There is like no room. There's barely some room all the way in the back, like barely, but I'd have to have the tank facing the back of the truck. There's no room over here. There's obviously no room here, and there's no room there because the battery's there. So I was gonna like build a platform and have it kind of raised up, and I was like, you know what? I could just put it right here. Reached out to a few people. They were like, yeah, you know, I've seen this a bunch of times. So I'm gonna run it here. I've already got it. I made like a little stand for it. So got it bolted in. It's in there nice and sturdy. It ain't going anywhere. I'm gonna hang the relay right there. Some of this wiring is still out. I'll eventually tuck it all away when I'm finished, but gotta tighten up we gotta wire that up. And then what I'll probably do is put another switch over there, maybe over here actually. But we'll have the water pump for this running off the switch. The hoses are just kind of they're basically just gonna come over and come through the floorboard right there. And then they'll basically come around and when I get the intake, what I'm gonna do is a Holley low ram with the Tick Performance thin intercooler. And so yeah, that'll be plumbed in on this side. So I got the new converter in. This is a Hayes torque converter, part number 97-1D42F. It's 42 to 4500 stall, depending on, you know, a multitude of factors. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is probably gonna be, it's honestly probably gonna be like 4200-ish on this truck, because it has like no low end. A lot different than the old one. I don't know what converter this is. I think it's a B&M. This is significantly heavier, a much larger converter. This one's a lot smaller, super light. The package said it was 23 pounds, and I'm pretty sure, I mean, that other one had to be well over 40. But I went ahead and mocked it up underneath. And I mean, everything fits right, so I'm gonna put some oil fluid in it, and we'll go ahead and get this transmission back in the truck. So I did a two-step check right after to test this converter, and it actually performed pretty well. Right after that, I did a test on the bump box to make sure that we could actually bump the truck in. Then we loaded it up and took it to the track. Unfortunately, the truck didn't really perform the way we wanted to, but we'll go over that here in a little bit. So, well, the good news is the converter really changed the way that this truck drives, and it seemed to work. I've always had a hard time putting or getting this transmission fluid level right, and the level was just a little bit too low. I had a whole bunch of safeties set into the Holley Terminator X also, so it was pulling like 13 degrees of timing. Intake air temps were like 208 degrees, and then also we were like 2 quarts low on trans fluid. So I put some more trans fluid in, the car started driving much better. So we got the trans fluid right, and then I decided it's just time to get rid of this intake manifold setup that this truck has. You know, like we're not really gonna be able to go fast, safely, and efficiently on, as far as like hurting the motor. You know, with 200 plus degree intake air temps, it's just not worth it. So this is actually being filmed after some stuff that I already done to the truck, but that's gonna be it for this one. The converter and everything's going right. We're getting into testing this truck, so racing content is coming soon. Actual racing other vehicles, not just me chasing the clock. So be on the lookout for that. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for following along. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one.